Welcome, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're gonna have fun today. I'm gonna have fun today. I don't know if anyone else will have any fun, but I'm gonna have fun today. Today's topic, what's wrong with the healthcare system in the United States? Is Medicare for all a solution? Welcome to another episode of the Einstein Retirement Daily, where we curate financial, economic, and market news for the headlines that affect today's retirees. This one, maybe a little debatable how much it affects today's retirees, but it is on the topic of Medicare, and so that certainly is in the wheelhouse of retirees, and so we're going to focus on that today. If you hear something in today's podcast that causes you to want to take some action, make some changes to your situation, please be advised that this podcast should not be construed as specific tax, legal, or investment advice. If you hear something that causes you to want to do something, please confer with the appropriate tax, legal, or investment professional prior to making any changes. Okay. This is going to be a fun topic for me today. I don't know why. I woke up inspired to talk about this. There's a lot in the news lately about this idea of Medicare for all. And the people who seem to be pushing it, I'm not really sure why, to be honest with you, but there's some seemingly moral arguments about Medicare for all. Okay, that seems to be the biggest push that I'm seeing, is that there's something inherently moral about being in favor of something like Medicare for all. What I would like to do in today's podcast is talk to you a little bit about maybe or possibly a different way to frame this discussion and a way to think about this. Now, I am not in the healthcare industry, so if you're looking for someone to talk on this topic that has 20 years of experience in health insurance or is a doctor or something like that, I'm the wrong person. Let's just say goodbye now. Don't listen to this podcast. But if you're looking for someone who has these qualities, let me put forward to you why I do think I have a relevant perspective to share with you on this particular topic. So I wrote a list here of things, so I apologize for those of you watching on YouTube who see me looking down. It's because I am referencing my notes here. So I do have a knack and a track record for getting to the bottom of things. So my clients would tell you that when I'm in meetings with other professionals, say an estate planning attorney or a CPA or something like that, they tend to use a lot of jargon words. Okay, not always, but often. We'll hear a lot of jargon. And I go, hey, wait a second, I don't understand that. Tell me what that means. What does it mean that we have this appointed person? Who's the appointed person? What's going on? Okay, that type of thing is something that I do. So I have a knack for that. I have a knack for hearing when things aren't really being explained in a usable fashion. Sort of like an engineer, okay, I have that sort of engineer mindset around things, but my interest level has always gravitated more towards human interactions and human systems more than like technical systems. Now, good or bad or otherwise, just where my interest level lies. However, I did spend, I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. For those of you who are hearing this the first time, good for you. I did spend time as an undergraduate student majoring in psychology. Okay, so I majored in psychology, and I was basically bored with my 100 and 200 level classes. I almost changed majors because they were so bad. I just did not enjoy them at all. It's basically like the history of psychology. Who cares? I mean, I don't anyway. I was top of my class, though, in things like research and statistics. Okay, so those were the areas of psychology that I really gravitated towards. In fact, I got an A in statistics, and I only showed up to the class because my future wife was also in the class, and I didn't really want to study. It was easy, very, very easy. The rule was that you just had to take the tests, and if you passed the tests, you didn't take attendance. So I wouldn't have shown up except for my future wife was in the class. And I didn't study or anything. I basically taught myself the material while taking the test because I could do that. And it was saving time. I got to have more fun that way rather than study. Okay, I was also intensely interested in economics. I broke the curve in both of my economics classes, and so badly that my professor took me in after one semester and he said, hey, you got to switch your major. I said, I don't want to switch my major. Actually, at the time, I was thinking about switching from psychology because I was so bored with it, because I hadn't discovered research and statistics yet. And the professor said, no, you got to switch your major. Why? He said, you broke my curve twice. I mean, the first time, luck happens, but you've done it twice. You got to switch your major to economics. So I told him I didn't see a future career in economics because I didn't like school, and I figured the only way to have a career in economics was to get a PhD. And I just was very bored with school. School was not my thing. Although I'm led to believe that upper level of education gets more interesting. I didn't find out. Okay, so I told him no also because almost all of the economics majors were men, whereas about 80% of the psych majors were women. So, although hopefully you'll forgive me for those of you who fall into this, maybe I should include myself though, most psychology majors are broken people, and so I married a speech pathologist. So there you go. All right, so this kind of takes me to the last point of who I am. I am extremely pragmatic. To a fault. I think mostly to a benefit, but also to a fault. So look, I don't waste a lot of time on nice sounding ideas. They just don't interest me. If it sounds nice, great. Maybe we take it to the next level. Okay, what does that really mean? Give me some details. I'll dig into the details enough to validate it. But if it's not valid, it doesn't hit the valid points, it just sounds nice, forget about it. I have zero interest level in that. I also have a constantly adapting framework where I can filter ideas very quickly. So I can hear an idea and I can filter it through what I consider a constantly adapting framework for taking ideas and then, sequencing them and saying, okay, here's where it matches, here's where it doesn't match. Is it good or bad? Does it match principles, systems that work or not? If it doesn't, it's out, okay? Just gone. So that's a positive in many respects, because if it doesn't work, I don't care how good it sounds or how nice it is. None of that stuff. It either works or it doesn't. In fact, I would consider things that sound nice but don't work to be corrupt. Okay, that's the definition of corrupt. Sounds nice but doesn't work. That's corruption. So, because it's easy to corrupt people with things that sound nice when they don't work. That's why I consider it corruption. So that's the good side. The downside is, and maybe you'll hear this today in my discussion of Medicare for All, is that it is really just a mirror of everything, okay, that I just mentioned. So sometimes I'll dismiss an idea that sounds nice but doesn't fit those key principles or effectiveness, and I'll dismiss it too soon. And so I might miss some valid points, okay, because I hear and I go, no, out, okay? Okay, you miss on the first 3 or 4 points and the idea's gone. I don't consider it. And I might dismiss some good ideas because I never get to the good stuff because the first few are too bad. Also, I focus on the usefulness of details up until the point that I decide either, hey, let's move forward, let's try and figure this out, or kill it, it sucks. But then beyond that, I don't give a crap about details. I really don't. I hate details. I really am not a detailed person at all. And so sometimes I miss future problems. So I hit the details that are important for me to say, hey, let's pursue this, but then I sometimes will not see the further down the line details that could get in the way or make the idea invalid or bad, and I just never get there because I really don't care that much about details, okay? And then at this point in my life, my cognitive framework that I described, where I filter things through, is pretty well developed. And so it really takes an extremely strong argument to cause me to shift that framework. So my framework can sometimes get a little rigid. Now, if you ever want to test your idea, someone like myself is a good person to test an idea with, because I have a very strong set of principles and cognitive frameworks to filter things through. And so I can test ideas very quickly and with a lot of depth. But on the flip side, something that is new that doesn't fit, it might not be wrong, it just doesn't fit with my current adaptation of my cognitive framework. And so it can take some time. It can take some time for me to make that shift. Okay, so there's the good and bad with me. So now you know who I am when I have this discussion about healthcare and something like Medicare for all. What I'm going to try to do is give you a very unique take on the healthcare system in the United States. Now, I'm sure it's not totally unique. I'm sure there are things that I'm going to say that have been said before, although I'm not much of a person to go dig into this realm. So if I'm saying something that someone else has said, it's possible I've heard it, but actually probably not, okay? I think it's mostly going to be unique because I'm not really a researcher in this arena. It's not something I dig into. What I am going to do is I'm going to use the frameworks that I just described, as well as my understanding of economics and human systems and human motivations, to talk about this topic. Now, I'm also not going to go down a rabbit hole of tired old arguments, okay? I think you'll hear me leaning towards this idea that maybe Medicare for all is not exactly the right solution, and I'm a little confused as to what's going on. Why are people pushing it? So you might hear that in my discussion today, but I'm not coming at it from the perspective of, well, how are we going to pay for it? Okay, if you're a listener of my podcast, you already know how we're going to pay for it. Debt, hypothetical attempt at taxes, and inflation. That's how we pay for something like this. It's not rocket science, it's just how the system works right now. Fiat money makes it easy to pay for stuff like this. We pay for, this is where the people who are looking at this with suspect eyes are correct, we pay for a lot of things we can't really afford. So what's up with Medicare for all? Why can't we pay for that? So what? We can't afford it. We pay for things we can't afford all the time. Well, so we'll look at that. But it's not so simple to say that there isn't a consequence. Okay, I'm not saying there's no consequence, but I'm not going to focus on the pure dollar economic consequence of a Medicare for all system. I'm also not going to go down the path of saying, oh, well, if we do this, it actually saves us money. No evidence for that, people. Look, I understand that someone ran a model, built an Excel spreadsheet. Let's be honest about what it is. They built an Excel spreadsheet to show how they save money when they have Medicare for all, for everybody. The healthcare system, individuals, everybody saves money when you use Medicare for all on an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, now I don't know how many of you, but I build Excel spreadsheets all the time for lots of things. Give me that Excel spreadsheet that someone put together for this. Let me tweak a couple of numbers and show you how it blows up. Okay, I promise you I can do it. I promise you that model doesn't work. Okay, just forget about it. Okay, don't even make that argument. If you're in a discussion, don't make the argument, well, how are we going to pay for it? And don't make the argument, oh, it actually saves us money. Don't make those arguments. I promise you, neither one is correct, okay? And you're not going to convince anyone with them. So neither argument is any good, okay? I'm also not going to go down this whole path of, well, the free market would do a better job, okay? I'm not going to do any of that stuff either. Okay, now I like the free market, but we don't have a free market now, especially in healthcare. And in the next 100 years, I'll be shocked if we ever end up with a free market. So just forget about that one, okay? So let's just go to a new framework. How should we think about the healthcare system? Because a discussion of Medicare for all if we want to fit it in, we want to understand what the heck's going on with this. Why is this an idea? Hey, wait a second, I'm old. I've paid into this system. I earned my Medicare. Now you're saying we're just going to give it to everybody? What the heck? Okay, so let me give you a framework and understanding of our healthcare system that I think will be helpful. Okay, so let's define some terms for a minute. Health insurance is not health care. Two different things. Health insurance is not health care. When people say we have to get people health care, that is almost never what they're actually saying. For some reason, they are obsessed with getting people health insurance. Now, maybe they have a reason. Maybe they think that's the only way to pay for health care. But health insurance and health care are not the same thing. So what we're going to focus on a lot is pulling those two apart and looking at them as two separate entities, which they are. Now, although they are two separate entities, what I think you'll find is that in many cases they are enmeshed together, but they are two separate entities. Healthcare and health insurance are not the same thing. Two different things. Medicare for all is health insurance, not health care. Okay? Two very different animals. So you have to be aware of this. So when people say Medicare for all, they're not saying health care for all. No. They're saying health insurance for all. Is that good or bad? I don't know. There's lots of ways to pay for health care. Health insurance is not the only way to pay for health care. So why Medicare for all? Okay, that's an important question. We're going to dig into that. But if you're not asking that question, then you're not even really at the decision table. You're not really in a position where you're even thinking about this correctly. To think about this correctly, you have to recognize first and foremost that health care and health insurance are not the same thing. Okay? Medicare is health insurance. Okay. Now, they do affect each other, but it is not bidirectional. Okay? Healthcare and health insurance. Healthcare does affect, health insurance does affect health care, but not really the other way around. Okay? Little bit. But by comparison, it is a one-directional effect. Health insurance very drastically affects health care, but not in the reverse. Okay, it's not in the reverse. Health care is not drastically affecting health insurance. Health insurance dictates a lot to health care companies. Okay, let's think about why that matters. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story, and before I do that, I want to give you a sense that what I'm not. Okay, what I'm about to describe here is not an account of accurate history. Okay, I'm not giving you some big thing. I'm not a historian. I didn't dig in. I didn't go research the topic extensively. What I'm going to describe to you is simply a narrative. Okay, it's a story, a hypothetical story based on my understanding of how human systems work and how complex systems work. Okay, like healthcare, like a healthcare system. Okay, so this isn't coming, I'm not giving you an actual story of things. I'm giving you a hypothetical narrative that comes just based on my understanding, the conceptions, the framework that I have around this issue. Okay, so once upon a time, the doctor was an entity unto him or herself. The doctor was a part of the community. The doctor was responsible for interacting with that community, to educate that community, to provide treatments when a patient was ill or injured or at risk of death, any of these types of issues. Okay, that doctor was there integrated into the community. And when that doctor would propose a treatment or discuss things with a patient, one of the points of discussion was going to be about how do we pay? How are we going to cover this service? Because I'm not going to provide you this care for free. And so that's part of that process, a very personal, one-to-one relational process. You can see how that's very different from our current system, because once we introduce health insurance into the mix, things change very drastically. See, I assume in the early days of health insurance, a doctor would perform a particular treatment on a patient, and then they would have that personal relationship with the patient. They would give the bill to the patient, and the patient would then be responsible for settling up with the doctor, paying for that care. Okay, whatever amount it was, $100, $200, whatever it was. In today's dollars, it's a couple thousand, okay? But inflation, to stay on a economic topic. But that's what they would do. They would settle up accounts with that doctor. Now, here's the thing. The patient, if they had one of those early health insurance plans, would then have to take that bill. So they've already paid for it. They're going to actually go get reimbursed from their health insurance company. So they take that bill over to the health insurer, and they say, hey, I have this health insurance policy. Here's a medical bill. I'd like you to cover it, please. And then I think you can imagine what kind of problems that creates. Okay, so if you've ever heard about health insurers trying to get out of coverage, we don't want to cover that. Well, the reason why that could happen is because those policies were written pretty broadly in the original days, I would imagine, okay? So they write these policies very broadly, not very well defined. The patient goes and gets a treatment, they give the bill to the insurer goes, oh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, we only cover this part of that bill. We cover $20 of that $200 bill, not all 200. And the person paying the premiums for that policy goes, hey, what the heck? I thought that you would cover all of it. And so then lawsuits, right? Lots of lawsuits, because they would go and get those disputes settled. Hey, I think you should cover this. And then the insurer says, no, we don't cover that. Well, but I think you should. And then the judge goes, well, I don't know. Seems like you should. That's written pretty vaguely there in that policy. That health insurance policy is written pretty vague. So what does the health insurance company do? Start getting very specific. If you read your health insurance policy today, you see, man, specific treatments, specific illnesses. I mean, it is nitty-gritty in terms of what it will and sometimes saying specifically what it won't cover. And the reason for that is the courts, okay? They force this issue. And so they start getting very specific. Now, you have, so now what happens is you get a very specific health insurance contract that names specific treatments, okay? So that's good, right? Now you know what you're going to get covered. So if you want to go get a treatment for your gout, I mean, there's a treatment, it's listed in your health insurance policy. You want to go get that treatment, your insurer will cover that for you. Okay, just go get the prescribed treatment. Introduce the scenario where that's not really on the table. All right, you got an individual specified health insurance contract, but you have an emergency situation. Expert doctor of cardiology has rushed in to save your life. Your life is saved. What a wonderful doctor. His knowledge, his understanding, his experience, his understanding of the human heart. Man, he figures out a totally revolutionary way to save your life right there on the operating table. Never tried before. He saw a problem, he fixed it. He saw that was creating an issue, he fixed that. Tied it all together, put it in a pretty bow. Not literally, but you get my point. And wow, just amazing stuff. Just amazing. He pulled it off, saved your life. Revolutionary. Now, this wonderful doctor saves your life, and because he did it in a way that was a little atypical, not the normal way to do things, but he saw a problem and he was going to fix it, by golly. And so they want to run some extra tests. right? So you spend an extra amount of time in the hospital, longer than normal, way longer than normal, because they want to run tests, they want to get you on a treadmill, they need to make sure that you are okay. This is a treatment that's never been done. They want to make sure you're all right. So you get a bill. You get a bill. Wow, what a bill. What a bill. Let's put it in today's dollars. Let's just say it's a $150,000 medical bill. Okay? Wow. Pretty expensive. Your health insurance policy has a limit of $2 million, right? So no problem, right? No problem. Your health insurance has a limit of $2 million. Your medical bill is $150,000. Great. You submit your bill to your insurance. You don't have $150,000 lying around to pay this wonderful doctor who saved your life with an experimental, brand new treatment that's never been tried before. What an amazing guy. You don't have that kind of money. So what do? You submit it to your health insurance. They pay $20,000 to the hospital and send you a bill for $130,000. Whoa! What the heck? What the heck happened? This narrowly defined health insurance policy just got you into trouble, right? Too narrowly defined. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What happened? The doctor performed a procedure that is an experimental. Why can't I say that word? Experimental procedure. Never been tried before. You're the first patient. Patient 0. Okay? Never been tried before. Who do you sue? You don't have $130,000 to pay this bill. You're filing a lawsuit. Your Honor, this doctor performed a treatment that had never been tried before. What the heck? I have a policy that would have covered, he could have done it this way or that way. He didn't do either of those. Why did he do this other one? What am I going to do? I don't have $130,000, Your Honor. Sue the doctor. You can see the problem. So, it doesn't take too many times for this to happen before people start getting wise. Who gets wise first? Probably the health insurance companies, okay? Health insurance is going to get wise to this first. You see, health insurers are going to get tired of being sued every single time they fail to cover a medical bill. Health care providers are not going to let their doctors perform procedures. It doesn't matter how much it saves your life. Not going to let them perform these procedures because, no, it's not on the health insurance. And so what happens is that we start seeing things show up in medicine today that I think are a result of this process that I just described. So number one, health insurance companies, not health care, start getting very interested in the type of procedures that doctors are allowed to use with their patients. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. If I'm a doctor and I know that I can bill your insurance for providing a treatment to you that absolutely doesn't work, and I keep billing your insurance for that treatment over and over again, and I know it doesn't work, but I keep billing it anyway, then I'm basically fleecing your health insurance for money, okay? Health insurance companies don't want that, right? They only want treatments that have what's called efficacy. So they want the treatment to show that it works, that it can heal you. If it doesn't have an opportunity to work, it can't heal you, they don't want to be on the hook to keep paying for that. So in terms of giving them the benefit of the doubt, in terms of their interest level in the type of procedures or treatments that you're getting, they do have an interest, a big financial interest. They don't want you receiving a lot of leeches to cure your cancer, and those leeches get pretty expensive. They don't want that, right? It's a waste of time, waste of money. Now, the negative side is that health insurers start wielding the power of force in terms of how you can receive care. Not actual force, but the weight of force financially, right? If you have the money for treatment A, B, or C, but none of those really seem to match exactly what you need. But treatment D looks like perfect for you, but it's new, it hasn't really been fully vetted and tested, but you seem like the perfect candidate for it. The health insurance company is not going to cover that. So they prevent you, in a sense, not actually preventing you, you could still get it, but from a financial perspective, they are preventing you from receiving that treatment. So that's the negative, that's the big negative. Health care providers, they care less about that doctor-patient relationship. Okay, so this is the other way that it shows up. Health care providers start caring less about the doctor-patient relationship. What they start focusing on is, what is the probability that we're going to get paid? Okay? Who's the best payer for a big hospital? Health insurance, right? Health insurance, absolutely. Absolutely health insurance. How many people just have $100,000 sitting in their pocket to pay a hospital? Not too many. How many health insurance companies will pay $100,000 to a hospital? All the time. Happens all the time. So health insurance companies are actually the client of your hospital. Okay? When the hospital, if you want to think about who's the client relationship here, don't think about it as like you and your doctor. Forget that. I mean, okay, there's a relationship there, but in terms of the financial side, the economic side, the relationship is your hospital to your health insurance. That's the economic relationship. That's the relationship that matters or counts. Okay? The relationship with you and your doctor doesn't really count. It counts only so long as there's two humans sitting in the room looking at each other having a conversation. But as soon as that moment is done, that's all over. Okay? From an economic perspective, the relationship, the business relationship, the financial relationship, the care relationship is between your hospital and your health insurance company. So, here's what I think happens next. The health insurance companies and the hospitals, the healthcare providers, these big healthcare conglomerates, okay, big companies on the S&P 500 traded securities, okay, these companies get together and effectively, this might be a tough word to use, but I think it's close enough, they collude with the government to impose and enforce regulations on the healthcare industry. You start hearing phrases like evidence-based practices. Okay, sounds good, right? Evidence-based practices. Professional competencies. Yeah, that's all good stuff. I want my doctor to be professionally competent. I want him to use evidence-based practices, right? Yeah, but health insurance companies write policies for the masses. They're not writing it for you specifically. So, if you have any oddities at all that make your personal health needs unique, then frankly, good luck. I mean, really. I mean, it's just a horrible thing. I'm sure you know people, maybe some of you listening to this are one of them, who are people who have had personal health issues that require a more individualized take. I mean, you feel like you're like running around with a bell, you know, rattling it saying, hey, someone pay attention to me. I think my symptoms aren't quite matching what you're saying here. Okay, good luck in that situation. It's tough, right? So, here's the purpose though. Why are these health insurance companies and hospitals colluding together about all this evidence-based practices and all this stuff? Well, this is a hypothetical situation where a patient is suing the health company, okay, the healthcare provider, a hospital. They're suing the hospital. Hospital sends its attorneys. You have your attorney, and you're sitting there, and the hospital's attorneys say, Your Honor, our hospital only allows evidence-based procedures. Look at this exhibit of 2,000 patients who received treatment this year. all of whom had a positive outcome, Your Honor. Okay? Right? Sounds like a good argument. Yep, evidence-based procedures, case closed. Sorry, Mr. Smith. Okay, it's over. Listen to this one, okay? The patient sues their health insurance provider. Okay, they sue their health insurance provider. Health insurance company shows up with their lawyers and they say, Your Honor, our health insurance policies only cover evidence-based procedures. There is no clinical evidence for this procedure, and although it may have worked for Mr. Smith, there's also a 30% spontaneous remission rate for Mr. Smith's illness. There is no evidence that the procedure Mr. Smith is seeking coverage for is responsible for curing Mr. Smith's illness at all. Therefore, we have no obligation to pay. Judge says, yeah, yep, true, not evidence-based. Case dismissed, right? That's how it goes. So they have a strong financial incentive to collude, to get into bed with both regulations, okay, so Congress and actual regulations around the healthcare industry, but also to get in with the judicial system, okay? And so I would say that this is a system that I do not trust very well. So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to attempt something here where I'm going to do a little screen share, and we're going to talk about how all health insurance today is prepaid. Not all, but most. Most health insurance is prepaid. The pool that it's prepaid from, private insurance. Okay, private insurance is covering the payments. Okay, can I guarantee that? Not exactly. I don't know exactly how much, but I can tell you this, that private insurance is covering the majority of pay, and I feel pretty confident in saying that. So let's do a little screen share here so that I can show this to you. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna go. I thought I had it set up, so I apologize. Here we go. All right, great. We're ready to go. Okay, again, I have no insider knowledge of what I'm about to show you. I didn't do any extensive research on this issue. I just simply am looking at the economics from a high-level, big-picture perspective and using my understanding of human systems and complex systems to describe what I think we're seeing. Okay, so let's give it a go. Okay, let me move that around, and we're going to go here. All right. Take my name off. Okay, so what I'm showing you here is a hypothetical major metropolitan hospital. Numbers, again, are all hypothetical. And this hospital has an annual gross revenue. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm sorry. I'll try to be granular here, but maybe hop over to YouTube and check it out. Annual gross revenue of this hospital is $5 billion, okay? Building, grounds, and maintenance takes up about $500 million. Doctor, staff, salaries takes up about $750 million. I think that was probably low, but just guessing. Other medical staff takes up about $625 million. Non-medical staff takes up about $1 billion. Medical supplies and equipment, $625 million. Medical bill forgiveness, indebtedness, they're forgiving, holy smokes, almost 15% of their gross revenue annually, or they're just carrying forward debt, $750 million. And then, of course, the important part, profits to the shareholders, 15%, $750 million. Where is the revenue to generate the $5 billion coming from? See, that $5 billion doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's got to come from somewhere. Where is it coming from? Who's paying the $5 billion? Well, in this scenario here, I'm saying that I think probably around 92% is coming from insurance payments. Okay? Yeah, there's things like co-insurance, deductibles, but deductibles fairly small in many cases. So deductibles are making up about 45 million of the total. Okay, not bad. It's a lot of money. Co-payments. Okay, so that's like your co-insurance. All right, you pay 20%. Your health insurance pays 80%. 20% co-insurance. Okay, that's about works out to around total of 7%. But there's limits, right? You have co-insurance up to a limit, and then you don't pay anything oftentimes. So that's 350 million. So 92% here. Okay, and then uninsured payments. So people just paying out of pocket, teeny tiny. Okay, very small amount, because the medical bill forgiveness and indebtedness while it's 750 million, that's money that's not paid. Right? So hypothetically, that 750 million could be down in those uninsured payments, but it's not there. People aren't paying. They can't afford to. They're making small $20 a month payments on a $150,000 medical bill or whatever deal they have going on. Hospitals forgive medical debt all the time. There's grants, there's programs. So that's just money lost, okay? Just money that goes right out the door. But it's not as if it goes nowhere. Someone is paying for it. The question is, who's paying for it? Private insurance. Private insurance is paying for it. Let's go to year 2. Let's add a year to this. In year 2 here, what you see is that, must be a rough economic year. Medical bill forgiveness is up $125 million. That's not good. So I guess we got a problem. Profits are down. Shareholders aren't happy. That's our problem. Oh man, it's so terrible. For those of you who are inclined to feel like the medical situation in our country is a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you can come up with your own word. I understand why. Okay, I get it. But, profits aren't a bad thing. Profits constrain you. Okay, they prevent you from doing stupid things. Okay, that's what having to make a profit does. So it's not a bad thing only. Okay, so just be careful with thoughts that it's a bad thing only. Okay, then you get down to the issue. The issue is profits are down. Can't have that. So what happens? Year 3 rolls around. Oh, my picture's in the way. Well, that top line number is up to 5 million. Let's do this. There we go. 5,125 million to pay for the extra indebtedness. Everything else is the same. So what happens? I promise you, your premiums on your health insurance plan are going to go up 2.5%. To cover that, who pays for it? Those with insurance. That's who pays for it. They're the ones who pay. All the revenue's coming from insurance, though. Okay, so don't kid yourself and think that somehow there's some system that's paying for this outside of insurance. Insurance is paying. Now, we do have Medicare in place now, and so Medicare pays part of this. But let's talk about a couple of things. I would put forward a hypothesis, and I don't know if it's a correct hypothesis, but I feel pretty good in guessing it. I would guess that I'm not too far off, that around 90% of all healthcare costs, including those from those who are uninsured, are covered by private health insurance. Private health companies are incentivized to maintain profits. So are the health care companies. So look, my biggest problem with Medicare for All, if I had to have one biggest problem, I mean, I have a few problems with it, but if I had to have one biggest problem, it's this. Any attempt to mandate health insurance helps health insurance companies. Who gets helped by the fact that we have a quote-unquote Medicare for All that is going to pay that medical bill forgiveness line item? Who's going to be helped by that? big hospitals, conglomerates, these massive institutions, okay, many of them publicly traded, many of them doing financial engineering, buying back their own stock, doing all this kind of stuff, okay, for those of you who don't like that. Let me just get under your skin more, okay? So they're going to do it, right? They're going to benefit by it. That's one group. Who's the other group? Health insurance companies. Health insurance companies don't want to raise premiums to make the same profit. They don't want to run the risk that somebody, tries to switch a health plan to save a few bucks. No, they want to keep those premiums low. They don't want to raise premiums. They do it out of necessity to cover higher costs. Well, if you eliminate a big cost line item, now, in a perfect world, that would reduce, right? In your hypothetical spreadsheet. That's the hypothetical spreadsheet I talked about. Oh my gosh, we save everyone money. Yeah, health insurance premiums go down. Yes, because these companies will not make more profits. They absolutely won't make any more profits. They will reduce prices, guaranteed. People are just fine paying $1,000 a year for their health insurance. We could reduce it to $500, or we could just make more profits. Anyone complain about the $1,000? Not really. All right, let's just leave it at $1,000 and make more profits. I mean, this is not rocket science, people. So that's one of my biggest issues with this kind of change, is that who it is positively impacting really looks like the health care companies, hospitals, things like that, and also the health insurance companies. Now, I have a lot of personal clients who are doctors and nurses, so I'm a little biased because I've heard the stories over the years about the decline of the quality of these big healthcare conglomerate systems, these big healthcare providers, these groups that go out and buy hospitals everywhere. They're not well regarded, so maybe I have a little bit of a nasty view on them. I'm a little biased against them. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is how I feel. And so I'm not really in favor of doing things just to help them. So what's the hypothetical idea? Okay, the hypothetical idea around Medicare for All is that we're going to give everybody a base level of coverage, right? That's the idea. Let's give everybody a base level of coverage. But here's the issue. We're only talking about Medicare Part A. Every other part of Medicare, the Medicare system, is covered under other provisions, Part B, supplemental policies, all of that stuff. So what's the deal there? I mean, supplements are private insurance plans. Medicare Part B you have to pay for. So how does that help people who can't afford health insurance or health care? They can't afford health care. They can't afford health insurance. So okay, Medicare Part A is not useless, but I don't know that that's really going to help people. I mean, Medicare is covering your stays in the hospital. Okay, so that's what it covers. Patient stays that last less than 60 days with a $1,463 deductible, which they probably don't have. And so that's basically it. I mean, there's some other provisions, but for most people, the people that are trying to get coverage, it's not really going to apply. It has to do with long-term care and in-home health care. So we're talking about hospital stays that last less than 60 days with a $1,400 deductible that they probably can't afford. I don't get it. Okay, doctor's visits aren't going to be helped by this. Prescription drugs, dealing with chronic illnesses, that's not going to help. I mean, I don't really get how Medicare for All is a good solution. So what's up with these people pushing it? It looks like it's only a win for the health insurance companies and the big healthcare conglomerates. So if they're the major winners in this, why are people pushing it so much? Because I got to tell you, the people that I see pushing this idea of Medicare for All do not appear to be sort of quote-unquote puppets of the health insurance companies. They don't appear that way. They seem to be like well-meaning people. So maybe they're just not very well informed. That is one possibility. Okay, I don't know, but maybe. Another possibility, I guess, is that They're going to do like, let's do this first and then we'll push for more later. It's like a foot in the door kind of approach. I mean, maybe that could be also. But I got to tell you, what's up with me? Am I in favor of this, Medicare for all? I think you can get the sense that I'm really not. I'm too suspicious. Okay? I think at the end of the day, I'm far too suspicious. I'm too suspicious that we're going to see continued consolidation of power in the healthcare system. We already see it now between healthcare, big healthcare conglomerates, and health insurance companies. And then we also see the pharmaceutical companies interacting with that. I didn't even discuss that. But you see all these groups coming together. There's a big consolidation of power there already. Pushing this even more consolidation of power in healthcare around something like Medicare really does not seem like a good idea. I mean, I feel like everyone complaining about the healthcare system is complaining about the issues that are a direct result of a consolidation of power in the realm of healthcare. So I don't know how shifting more power in that consolidated form is going to be beneficial. But, I guess maybe we'll see. We'll see if anything ever goes through. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. It was a long one, but it was fun for me. A little off the beaten trail. And one thing that we do know is that if the system passed, it's not going to affect any of you who are already on Medicare, who are of that age, who earned the benefit that you paid for. It's not going to help you. Hypothetically, it should reduce your premiums, but I think we already dealt with that one. Insurance companies are profit-making machines, so don't hold your breath. All right. I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. See you next time.